Hello, everybody. I hope that you are having an awesome day. I know that I am. Hello to Petros9711. Why can I not hear? There we go. Now I can hear myself. Hey there, Petros9711 and Sloptimus Primeus, as well as Crumply Pork. Those are fun names. Red Chaos and Frostbite57. I hope you guys are doing really, really great. Did he get a review Steam controller? I did get a review Steam controller, but it came in well after all of the other creators were able to get their hands on them. So Linus Tech Tips, Gamers Nexus, Dave2D, all those guys, they got theirs well before I did. Russ got his before I did. And that's fine. They all have much larger channels than me, so that's not a big deal. Just before anybody asks, I don't have a Steam machine, okay? And I mean, if I did have one, I certainly wouldn't tell you because I would probably be under NDA, but I don't have one. But I wanted to talk about what we've been seeing lately. Now, before we get to all of the stuff that I have to say about that, hang on, somebody just sent me a message. Okay, not now. Before I get into all of that stuff, and thank you guys for being here and joining me, I didn't give anybody a heads up that I was doing this, that I was going live, and why is this in, back to live mode. I didn't tell anybody that I was going to be doing a live stream. I just decided to because I saw the news, and honestly, I didn't feel like making a video. I wanted to hear what you guys had to say about it. So that's really what today is going to be. This is what I like to call an open mic, and generally during an open mic, what I usually do is I will have a topic or two that I want to talk about for a little bit, and then I will leave the floor open to you so that you guys can tell me, what do you want me to talk about? Now, there's already, with no notice, there's already 158 people watching, and I'm sure that that number will go up after a little bit. So it might be hard for me to see things that are going by really, really fast in chat. If you want to make absolutely sure that your message gets seen and that I discuss your message on the stream today, then you could use the super chat feature. I'm still going to be paying attention to chat, but if you want to use the super chat feature, you're going to do two things. Number one, you're going to support the channel, which is huge. But also you will be guaranteeing that I will discuss the topic that you would like to discuss. That said, as long as it's on topic, as long as it has something to do with video games and it's not offensive or anything, as long as it's appropriate to discuss here, then I will discuss it. So that's what the super chat feature is for. But you know what? Let's jump right in. I wanted to start off today by talking about this new information that got posted over at Geekbench. I saw this on videocards.com, and let's take a look at this and see what it says. So first off, it says Valve's upcoming Steam machine has appeared again in Geekbench under its Fremont code name. Two new Geekbench 6.7.1 entries were uploaded on June 15th, so that was yesterday, almost 10 months after the first public Fremont results, which came out in August 2025. Now, the big difference between, because just basically what we're seeing is here, we are now seeing benchmarks of people who have the actual hardware in the wild. We did see previous benchmarks in the past, but those were done by Valve because nobody had a Steam machine, as far as I knew, back in August of 2025. So now we're in June 2026, and we've all seen those images that got leaked of somebody's packages that had arrived that was a Steam themed package and contained a Steam machine, as far as we know, or allegedly. And now we know that they're out there. And if you needed further proof that they're out there, well, we have actual benchmarks. So let's take a look at the actual benchmarks and see what does that really say about it. Now, before we get on this, I want to make sure that I want to set expectations here. I am not a benchmarking guy. I mean, I do benchmarks from time to time when I have a piece of hardware. But most of the time when I benchmark stuff, I just do very, very simple things like running games that have built-in benchmarks, games that have like Cyberpunk 2077 has a built-in benchmark utility. So I click on the benchmark thing and I just wait for it to get done and I write down the score and then I talk about it in my video. I don't generally compare these things very often. I just tell everybody what it is and everybody else can discuss what it means. So we got these new benchmark scores, and these benchmark scores are posted over on Geekbench. If you've never used Geekbench, I've used it a couple of times, but Geekbench basically lets you benchmark hardware. And when you benchmark hardware, it automatically, like you can't, or I think you can pay to have it so that it doesn't automatically do this. But when you benchmark the hardware, it automatically sends that information to Geekbench's website and then just makes it searchable. And the Steam machine, I almost said Steam Deck, the Steam machine is known as Fremont. That's when we all called it Fremont for a really, really long time because that was its code name. That code name leaked. And as we looked at that, we just kept referring to it as Fremont. That is until Valve told us, no, it's called Steam Machine. But its code name is Fremont, and that's still how it is found in the Geekbench scores. So let's take a look at these scores. I'm going to bring up videocards.com that they brought this information to us. If we look on the left-hand side, it says Valve Fremont, and it says the single core score is 2334. The multi-core score is 7316. And this was updated, is really small, on June 15th, 2026, for both of these. So it looks like they did two benchmarks, one right after another. Now, why would they do two benchmarks, one right after another? Generally, when I do a benchmark and then I do a second benchmark and I throw the first benchmark away. And the reason for that is because the first benchmark might run into, I don't know, it could be like, what's the word that I'm trying to think of? Like shader compilation issues or something like that, which wouldn't actually reflect how it is when you actually play the game. I mean, sure, you might run into shader compilation or something like that on the first try, but then after the shaders get compiled, you generally don't have to worry about that again. So I will usually run a benchmark and then run it again just to make sure that I'm getting consistent results. And that looks like what whoever this person is updated or that updated that or uploaded this. It seems like that's what they did. So they got 2334 and the first one. And then, well, I can't tell which one's the first one and the second one. It's really small on the website here. And so that is at 5:11 p.m. and this is 5:12 p.m. So they did these back to back. So the one on the one on the left is the first one. The one on the right is the second one. So 2334, and then it dropped down to 2282 on the second one. And somebody might say, well, why would it drop down? And I would say, don't look too much into this. Like scores go up and down all the time. When I run a benchmark in Cyberpunk 2077, basically what happens is sometimes I will get 74 frames per second, and sometimes I will get 72 frames per second, and it's within the margin of error, so it doesn't matter. So this is fairly consistent scores. We can see that the single core score went down while the multi-core score went up. And these are both running SteamOS. Now, the big difference between this and what we saw last August, the big difference between those is that back in last August, they were running Windows. So Valve didn't have SteamOS necessarily ready for prime time when it came to the Steam machine. So when they were benchmarking the Steam machine, they were actually running it on Windows. And now we're starting to see what's happening with the Steam machine when it's running SteamOS or Linux instead of Windows. Did I say steak machine? Did I really say that? Everybody in chat is saying steak machine. I saw that a couple times now, so I guess I said steak machine. I meant to say Steam machine, if that's what I said. But if we look at the scores compared to Windows versus Linux, the August ones versus the new ones. So August 19th, 2025, we had a single core score of 2412 on Windows, 7451 on multi-core. And then we don't know what time these ones were updated, but if we look at the first one up here, 2334 to 2282. Okay, so it seems like the first one with the earliest date is on the bottom, and then the latter one is on the top. And I'm going to assume that that's what they did with the Windows one. So the first run that they had on the Windows back in August was 2304. That went up to 2412 on the second run. The multi-core score was 7117, and then that actually went up to 7451. If we compare that to the SteamOS benchmarks on, my brain stopped working for a second here, on Geekbench, sorry, then we can see that that's 2334 and then goes up to 2282. So what I'm seeing here is going from Windows to SteamOS, we lost about 200. Now, what is that 200? I'm not really sure what that means. Hopefully somebody tells us in the in chat like what 200 on there means. But that is a reduction. In fact, if I bring up a calculator, and I don't know if this is going to show up on screen. Let me bring up, no, my calculator doesn't show up on screen. So if I just take 2304 and I divide that by, or no, I don't want to divide that. So wait, hold on. 2304 went to 2334. Actually, that's yeah, a difference of 200 out of 2000. So that's like a 10%. I guess I didn't need a calculator. That's like a 10% difference. So it's not a huge difference, but it is something that you would want to know about, you know? But again, these scores fluctuate, as you can see. And then we've got our multi-core scores went from 7451 up to, I just realized I'm not on screen for that. 7451 up to 73, or down to 7392. So it dropped about, I'm going to say like 74, 50, 60. It dropped by about 60 points, if that makes sense. So when we look at that, how does that compare to something like the PS5? So I went to Geekbench, and if you just go to geekbench.com and then you click on the browse button and then search for what you're looking for, it'll come up. And I searched for it, and I saw that the single core score for Geekbench is 1218, and the multi-core score is 7449. So what this is showing me is that essentially the Steam machine has better CPU or better single core scores than the PS5, and the multi-core scores are roughly the same. Not a huge difference there. I saw somebody ask a question real quick. They said, "What do you think? What accessories?" Oh, I'll answer this question in a second about accessories. Somebody says you can find more custom 1772 runs in Geekbench too. So when you say custom 1772, you're talking about hardware that is analogous. You're talking about hardware that is analogous to the Steam machine as we know it, right? And Raphael 8 says 1 year ago, benchmarks were discovered possibly from a Steam machine prototype. Right. And that's why it was, and because it was a prototype, that's why it was running Windows. And yes, it is performance info. It's like, how does this perform? And you know what, Riom Hair, I don't disagree with you. I'm 100% with you that, yeah, people are more worried about price than performance. 100%. And the next thing to point out, and Raphael 8 is absolutely correct about this. These are synthetic benchmarks. They're synthetic. We don't really know how this is going to perform, but I kept seeing all day long, this kept getting sent to me, these benchmark scores. And so I thought there's a lot of people who are super interested in this. And what I wanted to do is just say, okay, let's just talk about it for a second and get everybody to talk about what it really means. Synthetic benchmarks don't necessarily line up with how a game actually performs. Edgar GNZ 4444. What is the new Steam info? Well, we're talking about it right now. We've got these new scores. So some reviewer out there has posted these new scores over on Geekbench, and then videocards.com found them. All right. Any info on GPU performance, or is it only CPU scores so far? As far as I know, this is all of the information that we have. And if we look at this, if I go back to search and I go Fremont, we're going to bring these up. And if I go to System Valve Fremont, this is June 15th. So this is the newest one. If I click on this and I scroll down here, it's going to tell me what information is this. So first off, it's an AMD custom CPU 1772. Oh, so you were saying there were other 1772 benchmarks out there. I'm going to look for that in a minute. They tell us that it has one processor that has 6 cores and 12 threads. It's made by AMD. And we've got a base frequency. I wonder if the frequency is different than before. Let's go to this one. Base frequency was 3.2 gigahertz on that one. And this one, the base frequency is 4.8 gigahertz on this one. And then if we scroll down here, it says single core scores. So it's talking about all of the things that it is doing. Now it does say ray tracer on here, and it's got a 1712 score right there. If we take a look at the PS5, let me duplicate this tab, and I'm going to look for PlayStation 5. And we'll click on the top one. If I scroll down here, Ray Tracer 1334. Is that on the screen? Yeah. So if you look right here, Ray Tracer 1334. And if I click on Ray Tracer for the Steam Machine 1712. So when you compare them, it seems like ray tracing does a little bit better on the Steam Machine, but that's, like, I don't know if that is 100% accurate or not. Raphael Ada says, is there any chance that these could relate to Steam Frame instead of Steam Machine? No, because the chipset in this is, well, first off, Fremont is the code name for Steam Machine, not for Steam Frame. But also, if you look at this, this is an AMD processor, and the processor that's in the Steam Frame, I believe, is a Snapdragon processor. So it has to be the Steam Machine and not the Steam Frame. Gaming with Passion, what's going on? What's going on, man? So send in your questions, and I will be referring to those questions. Let me scroll back up through chat and see what people have been saying. Oh, somebody said, anybody know PS5? Yeah, Beats and Guitar says, anybody know the PS5 scores? Yes, we have the PS5 scores right here. If I bring them up on screen, these are the PS5 scores. These are the Steam Machine scores. So there's the Steam Machine 2282, 7392, PS5 1218, 7449. Now, there's going to be some people who look at those numbers and they're going to make an instantaneous comparison, and they're going to say, see, it is better than a PS5, not worse than a PS5. And I completely understand why people would think that. This does not take into account all of the information. So you can't make those determinations yet. Just looking at one number is not going to tell the whole story. And that is the thing that so many people tend to fall into. They always seem to think bigger number better. And that's not always the case. Sometimes bigger number better is not really the full story. Guys, somebody please in chat explain to me the stake. Like, why do you guys keep saying stakes? I have no idea. Let's see. I'm scrolling through. What else do we have? New tech. Windows is better on the Steam Machine than SteamOS. Again, the benchmarks are so close, it doesn't really have a big difference. It's not telling you that full story. Xbox Series S is a better deal. I don't know about that. Xbox Series S is decent, and it's cheap as far as when you compare it to other stuff, but I don't know, man. Xbox, like the series, mine just is a paperweight these days. I really don't play it nearly as much. I just moved over to PC instead. Is this different than what the Fox did? Yes, this is different than what the Fox did. ADAH, I don't know how to say your name. Who, I'll just say, because that's how it ends. What Kerry did with his hardware is he built something that was close to a Steam machine based on what we knew about it. He couldn't match it exactly, so he had to like go in and turn off certain cores. And by doing that, he was able to get a rough approximation of what the performance of the Steam machine would be. This is actual performance of what the Steam machine will be, but it's only one piece of information. Let's see what else. Oh no, I already answered that. Rapthor 13 says, I just want to see games running on it. The numbers, I don't care. And that is absolutely something I agree with. I would not have turned on this live stream to talk about this if I hadn't seen so many people send this information to me today. Like, I must have gotten a message about this about 15 times. I had people emailing me. I had people sending me DMs on Blue Sky. I had people sending me messages on Discord. I had tons of information of people just kept sending me the same thing. So clearly people were really, really excited about this, and I figured we better sit down and talk about it. Scrolling through the chat. Oh, compared to the PS5 Pro, that's a good choice. Or Souls Like Addict, that's a really good point. Let me duplicate this tab, and I'm going to search for PlayStation 5 Pro. Oh, it came up with nothing. I wonder if it's called something else. Let me make it so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So 8 cores, 8 cores, 8 cores. Okay. You know, I wonder if the whole, you know what? We're not going to have benchmarks for the PlayStation 5 Pro on here. And here's the reason why. Notice that these are all Linux. I'm assuming that these were PlayStation 5s that were jailbroken, and then somebody installed Linux on them and then ran the Geekbench. Because I don't know for sure. Maybe I'm wrong about this. But I doubt there's a way to just install Geekbench on a PlayStation 5 by default. So they had to have like a different operating system running on there and then run Geekbench on it. And the PS5 Pro has not been jailbroken. And so that means you can't run Geekbench on it as far as I know. So I don't think that we have a good comparison to see how PlayStation 5 Pro would compare. All right. Let's see what else we got. We got a super chat that came in. Very somebody's asking me about steak machines. What is the steak thing? Starscream said super chat, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. They said how much for the steak machine? Did I really say steak machine? I don't remember saying it. I had a question that came in early on from Danny. They said, what do you think? What accessories will be available to buy from the official Steam store for Steam Machine and Steam Frame? We know from leaks that there are front plates for Steam Machine. What else? Well, okay, so you said, what do we think? What we think? I think maybe front plates, but honestly, I would not be surprised if Valve just said, you know what? We're just gonna let third parties do the front plates. We're not gonna do that stuff. But maybe I'm wrong, and I hope that I'm wrong about that. And then for Steam Frame, we know that there is the ability for you to take a third-party module and hook it into the device so that it gives you color pass-through instead of black and white pass-through. At least that's something that Valve has said would be a possibility. And if that's the case, then maybe they would sell that aftermarket. But the way that they said it to me sounded like they were talking about that it would not be first party. It seemed like it would be third party. You know what I mean? So what accessory? But I guess here's a question for all of you guys. Let me search for steak. I want to see if anybody can explain to me this steak thing. Because steak is delicious. We all want a steak machine now. That's a lot of steak. Someone wrote steak machine. I thought I said steak machine. Okay. That's too funny. All right. Scrolling back down to the bottom of chat so I can see what's new. Avery says, are you ready for summer break? We have 1.5 weeks left. That's awesome for you. I am ready for summer break because I have a lot of work to do. And that actually means that I have to tell you guys something that's very important. And then I have another story that I want to talk about. And then I'll go back to your comments and stuff. The NerdNest is moving. I know. My wife and I just bought a new house. And in July, we will be moving. And so this studio is going to be saying goodbye. And I'm going to be going to a new studio at the new house. And it's going to take some time to get everything set up the way that I like. I really like the way that I have this the NerdNest set up. But it's going to be different. It's going to be an experience. And I have so much work to do this summer in order to make that the way that the way that I want it to be. But thank you for the question. Ito Kairu says, send in a $5 super chat. Thank you so much for the support. And they said, I'm interested in the steak machine too. you spelled steak wrong and you spelled two wrong. But you know what? A steak machine, is that like a George Foreman grill? You know what I mean? YouTube money. Kaiser Soze. No, there's no YouTube money. You guys wildly overestimate how much money I make on YouTube. All right, I got another super chat that just came in. Here it is. It's from Starscream again. They said, is the cooling and heat sink enough for mounting an entertainment system in the living room without additional cooling system? Airflow pushes straight out the back. Congratulations on house. Oh, thank you so much for the congratulations. You know what? I personally would not put something like a PlayStation, an Xbox, a computer, a Steam machine. I wouldn't put any of that stuff in an entertainment center that is closed up unless you had some kind of ventilation in the back. So what I would do is I would like get a jigsaw or something, cut a hole in the back, right? Where the steam machine is going to go if you don't want it seen. And I completely understand why somebody might not want the steam machine to be seen. I don't like, my biggest gripe about the PlayStation is how ugly it is and how it calls attention to itself. Whereas my Xbox just is a black square that just, or black rectangle that just vanishes and you don't notice it. So I appreciate that Valve decided to make the Steam machine a black cube that just vanishes. But if that's not invisible enough for you and you want to put it inside something, then I don't know that I would do it without like cutting a hole in the back. And we just got another super chat from Dave Priz. Thank you so much. They just said steak machine with a little steak logo. And all right, here's a question. Naruto Uchiha. Sent in a $2 super chat from Canada, and they said, what is the expected price? Well, here's what I will say. All right, what is the price of the Steam machine? Number one, we don't know. We don't know. But number two, since the question is being asked from somebody who's in Canada, way more for you than for me. Look at the Steam controller. The Steam controller is $99 in the US. In Canada, it's $150 Canadian. That is very expensive. And if you just do a straight translation from American dollars to Canadian dollars, 99 American dollars is not 150 Canadian dollars. So basically, Valve is doing a markup for people in Canada. So while we don't know how much the Steam machine is going to cost, if you live in Canada, which I'm assuming since you're doing a super chat from Canada, I'm assuming you do. It's going to be more expensive for you. And I would say whatever the American price is, maybe increase it by 50%. I mean, that's really rough. I hate to say that, but it's bad. It's really bad. In the EU, it's 99. Okay. The latest leaks seem to indicate that we will find out next week. Influencers should have already had their testing units. Let me push back on there just a little bit, Raphael 8. Not everybody already has their testing units. I do not have a testing unit. But I have spoken to not influencers, but other people that have said that they have one. I'm not going to say who it is, but I know that they're out there. So who knows? Or at least I've been told that somebody has one. It's nobody that I like. It's nobody that's on my show, if that makes sense. And it's not somebody who has like a YouTube channel. Yeah, no kidding. Bill, was the recent shipments of virtual reality devices were shipped in raw bulk load without the lithium batteries and head strap because of hazmat regulations? Oh, I never thought about that. Is there evidence to suggest that someplace? It makes, well, I mean, they still have to ship the batteries here somehow, right? So let's say that we have, let's say like the Apple Vision Pro. No, because that doesn't have a built-in battery. It has a battery on a wire, doesn't it? So let's say the Meta Quest 3, when that ships in, I doubt that they have the batteries taken out of there. Heisenthal. Hey, Heisenthal. They said maybe you'll get yours on Friday, like with the Steam controller. Yeah, I mean, with the Steam controller, I didn't have one, and I told everybody that I didn't have one. It's not Jimmy. It's nobody that's ever been on the show, and it's not a YouTuber. It's just somebody that I had spoken to that has one. But anyway, well, I don't know if Jimmy has one. Maybe he does, but he hasn't told me. Anyway, I forgot what the heck I was talking about. I got distracted. Is Bill not an influencer? I would not consider myself an influencer. I am a nerd who has a podcast. That is what I am. I don't even consider myself to be a YouTuber. Guys, you keep naming off YouTubers. It's not a YouTuber. Anyway, I'm not going to answer any more questions about that. The Steam Deck has a battery. There's no way that they shipped in the Steam Deck, then took it apart to put the battery in, and then put it back together. That's like way too much work. I'm sure that these things were built over in China or Hong Kong or any of the different places where they can build stuff. I think starts with a V. I cannot maybe Philippines. That does not start with a V. I can't think of the other places, but there's so many places where things can be built. And then they shipped over here whole. I don't think that they're going to ship them over without batteries and then do the batteries afterwards. So that's a really good point. I feel influenced. Nice. All right. I want to move on and talk about another story that I want just really quick. And this one is not related to Steam stuff at all. This is related to one of my favorite games of all time and a developer and publisher. Vietnam, thank you. Yes, that's the word that I could not think of. So one of my all-time favorite games that I never really talk about is Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is like the perfect MMO. I love MMO games. I've been playing MMO games since the first, since Ultima Online. In fact, you guys can't see it right now, but behind my monitor, because I put it on the wall before I had my monitor here, I have a map, a cloth map from Ultima Online. And as I, as when I was at work one day and my friends came in and they told me, hey, you got to try this game, Bill. It's called Ultima Online. And you play online with other people, and it's like hundreds of other people in the same world as you. And I was like, that sounds crazy. And then they told me that there was a a subscription. And I said, you're out of your freaking mind if you think I'm going to pay money every month to play a game. Well, after I went over to their house and checked out the game, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to buy it. So I bought the game and I subscribed to it and I played it a bunch. And then EverQuest came out and I switched over to EverQuest, had an absolute blast with that. And then each time a new MMO came out, I would try it. I would get hooked on it. That's the games that I play all the time are MMOs. And I have not played an MMO in a really long time. The last one that I really played seriously was Guild Wars 2. When I started streaming, I was streaming Guild Wars 2. It was a very long time ago. And Guild Wars 2 is just so freaking good. No, it's not a Turkish transplant. I just stopped shaving my head. Guys, I'm a public school teacher. How much money do you think I make? I do not make enough to get a hair transplant. I also don't really care if, I'm going bald. Anyway, so Guild Wars 2 is the last one that I played really seriously, and I had so much fun with it. And at the Game Awards, they announced Guild Wars 3, and I was like, hell yes, Guild Wars 3. That is exactly what I wanted to see, and I did not see it coming. So if we look at this was posted today by the Guild Wars team, and it says our Guild Wars philosophy. And this is the stuff that makes me absolutely love Guild Wars. White Lightning says, I've never played Guild Wars. Why is it so good? Okay, so let me explain why it's so good. Okay, Guild Wars 1 is very good, and I had an absolute blast with it. Guild Wars 2 is a huge step up, though. So let me explain why I think Guild Wars 2 is really good, and then we'll come back to this, okay? Guild Wars 2 is a video game that respects your time. It's an MMO, but I never felt like I had to put hours upon hours upon hours into it just to do the fun stuff. And the way that I would explain it is when you play a game like World of Warcraft has what's called vertical progression, where as you level up, you get more powerful, okay? Guild Wars 2 has horizontal progression. Horizontal progression means as you level up, you get more options. You don't become more powerful. Yes, you do have some amount of vertical progression within that horizontal. I got to mute that. Within that horizontal example, but that's just from gear, like getting a new sword or something, right? And most of the time, that's not super important. So when I play Guild Wars 2, and I see some, like I'm a level, I don't remember what the max level is. I'm going to say 60, I think. And I'm a level 60 character. And I convince a friend to play the game. Well, once they finish like their starting quest, we can explore the entire world together and have no problem playing together because the game levels to the player individually. So when the level 5 character and me, the level 80, thank you, the level 80 character, we're playing the same place at the same time and we're both fighting the same thing, and the game scales based on that. On top of that, it doesn't have a monthly subscription, which means I don't feel like I have to play it. I play Guild Wars when I want to play it. And that is something that shows that ArenaNet, the company who's making Guild Wars 3, that really understands. Okay, so let's go to the article that they posted today, and then we'll talk more about this stuff. So it says our Guild Wars philosophy. Hello, Guild Wars community. Today, Guild Wars 3 update is a big one. I'm going to be talking about the core philosophy that defines the way that we make games. So grab a cup of your favorite drink, sit back, lean forward, and relax. It's reading time. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Say hi.
Hey.
What are you doing?
I'm on a live stream right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
I'm heading out soon, though.
Oh,
So
well,
probably not.
okay. When will you be home?
Probably like before 7 because we're going to do the senior sunset thing.
Okay. All right. I'll see you when you get back.
Yeah.
Today is my son's last day of high school. All right. So it says here, when we set out to create Guild Wars 3, we didn't start out by asking what a sequel should look like. We started with something more fundamental, a core philosophy that defines how we have built games at ArenaNet over the last 21 years. It's crazy that it's that long, that old. Let me move this up. Okay. The core Guild Wars philosophy, our philosophy is relatively simple. When we make a new game, we take an inventory of the genre at the time, the good and the bad, and we identify player problems, frustrations, and limitations, and we ask, how can we solve them? All right. Yes, thank you, guys. Thank you. So, and then if we scroll down here, it says, today I'm going to talk about the core elements players have come to know and love about Guild Wars games that arose from its approach to the same game development. These are expectations we know players have of any Guild Wars game as a result of innovations we've delivered on over the years, and I want to share how we're applying those expectations to Guild Wars 3. Number one, no subscription fees. This game is going to be a buy it and play it game. You do not have to pay a subscription each month in order to play. Now, I thought that maybe they would, since Guild Wars 2 was incredibly successful, maybe if ArenaNet ever move forward with Guild Wars 3, that they would, in fact, switch over to that genre of monetization. In fact, I expected it, and I'm glad that they're saying, we're not doing that. And most of the time when we look at these games, like the lines have been blurred between like online multiplayer games and MMOs. MMOs were always like this different animal, right? And they were like, you got to pay a subscription because we got this whole world that we're constantly updating for you. Whereas the games that are always online but are not MMOs, usually they would use some other kind of monetization, either through microtransactions, which I have no problem with, or through like a battle pass system. And so I anticipated that if Guild Wars 3, if Guild Wars 3 chose not to do subscription fee, then what they would do is introduce a battle pass system. And they are not introducing a battle pass system, which is really cool. Let me read this. It says, from the beginning, let me scroll this up for you so you guys can see it too. From the beginning, one of the defining ideas behind Guild Wars was simple. Players should be able to buy the game and play it on their own terms. When Guild Wars launched in 2005, oh my God, that's so long ago, that wasn't the norm. Subscription fees were a core part of the MMO model. Choosing not to have one wasn't just a pricing decision. It was a statement about accessibility and long-term value. We carried that forward into Guild Wars 2, and it remains just as important today. Guild Wars 2 will be a buy-to-play game at release. There will be no subscription fee. But then they said in many newer games, the subscription hasn't disappeared. It has been reshaped with paid battle passes, paid recurring seasonal tracks, and similar paid systems, often functioning as a new kind of ongoing fee. They say, when we say Guild Wars 3 won't have a subscription fee, we mean it. No monthly fees and no battle pass subscription fees. Just buy the game and play it when you want. If we earn your trust and you feel like we're delivering experiences that you love, we'll have expansions and other things you can buy from us that if you think that they are worth your investment. And I think that that is a great philosophy. And it's one of the reasons that I think ArenaNet is one of the absolute best developers out there. And I have no relationship with ArenaNet at all. I've never spoken to anybody at ArenaNet except for Richie Procopia because he's a streamer who used to stream on, or I don't know if he still streams on Twitch, but he would stream on Twitch and he would play Guild Wars all the time. And then now he works at Guild Wars. But I don't have a relationship with anybody at Guild Wars. This is a company, or at ArenaNet, this is a company that I think does an amazing job at respecting the customer. When I pay a subscription, I feel like if I'm not playing the game, then I'm wasting my money. And so then I play the game whether I want to or not. And you know what? They said, this guy just said, that sounds unsustainable. They've been doing this for 21 years. Guild Wars 1, no subscription fee. It's still up. Like, you can still play Guild Wars 1 today, no subscription fee. Guild Wars 2, no subscription fee. You can still play Guild Wars 2 today with no subscription fee. And when Guild Wars 3 comes out, there's going to be no subscription fee. There's going to be no battle passes. So how do they monetize? Well, number one, when you buy the game, that's one way that they're monetizing it. And then when you play the game, maybe you like see a character run by and you're like, damn, that character looks freaking cool. I want to look like that character. How do I get that armor? Well, you can get armor in the game that looks cool, or you can buy armor that looks cool and it just looks cool. It's not more powerful. It's just a different look. And so you can buy different sets of gear that looks cool, and that's completely optional. Most of the time, I don't buy, I don't do microtransactions for cosmetic items most of the time. In Guild Wars 2, I bought so many outfits for my character because I was playing the game all the time and I wasn't paying a subscription fee. And I was like, okay, you know what? I can support this dev because they're giving me so much for the very little money that I gave them when the game came out. And so some people might say, all right, so the way that they would do it is by doing microtransactions. Well, one problem with microtransactions is often microtransactions make it so that you are more powerful than another character that didn't spend that money on that microtransaction. Again, not the case. So it says here, speaking of other things you can buy from us, this one is pretty simple. And the statement we made before the release of Guild Wars 2 about our philosophy in this area remains true today. We think players should have the opportunity to spend money on items that provide visual distinction and offer more ways to express themselves. They should also be able to spend money on account services and on time-saving conveniences items, but it's never okay in a Guild Wars games for players who spend money to have an unfair advantage over players who spend time. So, what do they mean by that? So when they say, well, first off, obviously cosmetics, you guys understand what they mean by that. However, when you're talking about things that save you time or conveniences, that would be like, let's say that there's a cooldown between how often you can do a certain thing. You can buy more of those cooldowns if you want. I think that I don't think I ever in Guild Wars 2 bought one of those cooldown reduction things, but what I did buy is inventory space. So if you want, you can buy more inventory space as you are playing. Or at least I believe that that's the way that you could do it. I think that that's really cool. Let me go to the chat real quick and see what other people are saying. Oh, Rodney, that's a funny name. They said, sent in $10 for New Zealand. Thanks so much. And they said, here's a few pennies toward the Gabe Cube fund. Yeah, if I don't get a Steam machine, I would very much like to buy one, but it really depends on how much they're going to cost. You know what I mean? If they're really expensive, I don't know if I'm going to buy one myself, even though I would love to be able to. All right, let's go back to the article, the Guild Wars article. It says, respecting players' time has always been a core part of Guild Wars, and that's more important today than ever before. One of the most common perceptions about the MMO genre is that the games require massive time investments to play. And that's 100% true. When you play World of Warcraft, if you wanted to be a raider, which I used to raid in World of Warcraft regularly, one of the things that you would have to do is you would have to bring your own potions and elixirs and things that would increase your DPS or give you extra mana or stuff like that, right? And in order to get that stuff, you either had to buy it off the auction house with gold, or you had to make it yourself, or you had to go and find the ingredients and then get somebody in your guild to make that stuff for you. And that was a huge pain in the ass. Like, it took a lot of time. So if I wanted to sit down with my raid team on a Friday night and say, okay, we're going to go up against this boss, well, then all week I had to prepare for that. I had to make sure that I had all of the right potions and tonics or elixirs and, you know, sharpen my weapons and make sure that my armor was all repaired and all of these things that I had to do throughout the week just so that I could spend those 2 hours with my raid team having the actual fun of the game. Guild Wars is not like that. Guild Wars 3 is not going to be like that, according to this post. So they said, historically, MMO engagement has been viewed as an experience like a second job, where players need to spend large amounts of time preparing to have fun before they can actually engage in the fun parts. Only have 30 minutes to play? Don't play an MMO. You'll find that you just need to organize your inventory, figure out what content you're going to play, get your character set up, and then time's up. You haven't even gotten to the gameplay yet. All right. It seems to me, based on what I'm reading here, is that ArenaNet understands that players have an incredible amount of choice as to where they can spend their time. And I'm not even just talking about video games. I could doom scroll on Blue Sky. I could binge watch The Office. I could do 1,000 different things with my time that aren't even video games. And then when we talk about video games, I have access. My Steam library has over 1,000 games in it. And I know people who have over 10,000 games in their Steam library. They have so many things that they can do. So what ArenaNet is saying here is that you don't have to do all of that stuff that you typically have to do in an MMO to have fun. And I think that that is absolutely awesome. And I think it's the best thing that they said is right here. They said, we want you to feel good about the time you invest, whether you're playing every day or only have an hour or two every week, or are coming back after a long break from the game. I think that that's fantastic. And they have shown that in the past, that they also respect their current audience because they have this system called the Hall of Monuments. And the way the Hall of Monuments works, basically, I'll leave it on screen while I explain it. You guys can read it. Basically, the way that the Hall of Monuments works is in Guild Wars 1, you could do a bunch of tasks in the Hall of Monuments, and that would get you a bunch of cosmetic stuff and like little bonuses in Guild Wars 2. And they're doing the same thing in Guild Wars 2 to bring stuff to Guild Wars 3, which I think is really cool. And there's going to be a bunch of people who are worried that they're going to shut down Guild Wars 2. They never shut down Guild Wars 1. In fact, they put out Guild Wars 1 Reforged, and you can still play it today. So I just think that this article is fantastic. The rest of it is not telling me as much as I like as much as the beginning is. But I just think it's a really, really great article. And after I'm done recording, I'm going to put this article in the description so that people can go find it. All right. Let's see. What do you guys want to talk about? Let's hear your questions. I see the super chats, but I don't see the other questions in here. Let's see. If the Steam machine is 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck is $790, you're saying $790? Yes. I doubt that the Steam machine will be cheaper, as it wouldn't make sense to spend more money for less power. Heisenthal, I get what you're saying here, but here's the one thing I would say. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be cheaper. But here's what I would say to push back against that. When you play things, when you play something portably, you are paying a price for that portability. That portability increases the price. Portability means now you have batteries. Now you have a screen. Now you had to make sure that you design things in order to fit in this portable device. When you are playing a console or a PC, you don't have to worry about that. Because you don't have to worry about that, A, the costs are down. But more importantly, it's not as hard to squeeze it into a small space, although they did a lot of squeezing with the Steam machine. And yeah, Chloe is basically echoing the same thing that I was saying. Ooh, Dismemberment 84. What do you think about the Ocarina of Time remake? Oh, I am so over the moon for this game. I cannot wait to play it. I wish that Nintendo had shown us gameplay. I wish that it hadn't been leaked for us. In fact, here, I'm going to tell you guys something real quick. There has been times where I have been given information that I could leak, and I don't leak it. I don't leak it. However, if somebody else leaks stuff and then I talk about it, that's completely different. Okay? So I'll give you an example. There was a company and I'm not going to say the company's name because I don't remember which company it was. But there was a company that sent me an email and they said, "Hey, Bill, we have a mock Nintendo Switch 2. We would like to send it to you." And I said, "Send it." And they did. And it showed up. And it sat here on my desk for, I'm going to say, 2 months. Maybe it was less than that. It was a good amount of time that it just sat here on my desk. And I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to leak that information. But then when I saw, I think D-Brand posted like something about the Nintendo Switch 2 in their case, and then there was another company that posted something, and I looked at what they had and it matched what I had, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not leaking this information. I'm just showing people, I'm just confirming information that's already been leaked. So that's when I made my Nintendo Switch 2 dummy model video. And so I made that video about it. It did very well. Of course it did. But I could have gotten way more views by posting that stuff early. I don't leak stuff. The Nintendo Switch 2 Ocarina of Time remake. I wish that wasn't leaked because that would have been a crazy announcement to have seen blind. Everybody already knew it was coming because Nate the Hate leaked it. And I'm not throwing shade at Nate the Hate. Just because I wouldn't leak stuff doesn't mean other people shouldn't. You know, do what you want. You make your own decisions. No shade at Nate. Okay. But Nate the Hate leaked the Ocarina of 2 remake. And it turns out he was right. Now, when I saw the video, it did take away a little bit from my enjoyment of seeing it because I knew it was coming, or I suspected it was coming. But I still think the graphics look crazy good, and I cannot wait to re-explore that game. I've already played through it 4 or maybe 5 times, and I absolutely loved it. But I saw a lot of people say that they don't like the way it looks. And I would say, I don't know. I thought it looked freaking cool. What do you guys think? Actually, I'm going to do a poll in chat. I'm going to ask you guys. So plus, we're going to start a poll. What do you think of the Ocarina of Time remake that we've seen so far? Looks good. Looks bad. Start poll. Dogboy 99999999. Father Bill, you testing the Steam Machine, man? Nope, I am not testing the Steam Machine yet. Red Saber says it's also Nintendo's fault. They put out a new console and left everyone hungry for games for a year. Mario Kart just wasn't it, and Donkey Kong was over quick. I mean, I don't disagree with what you said, but how is that them being at fault for it leaking? So far, the looks good I don't know how many people have voted so far, but it's at 84% right now. Okay. Smasher UGS says, looks good, but I wonder if it's going to be more than Skyward Sword remake that only added fast travel behind amiibo support. Well, that was really was that a remake or a remaster? I feel like it was more of a remaster. The graphics were a little bit better, but they weren't astronomically better. These graphics, when you look at Ocarina of Time versus the original Ocarina of Time, these graphics are insane. You know what I mean? Jeannie Love says, I hope it's not a 1-to-1 remake. When I played Ocarina of Time 3D, it already felt dated. And I would agree with that. I had an absolute blast with Ocarina of Time 3D on my 3DS. And I played so much of it, and I had a blast, and I beat it, I think, twice on the 3DS. But I don't want to play that game again. I want to play a different game. And it's not that it's different. I want the world to be more full. Like Hyrule Field is woefully empty in Ocarina of Time. I want to know, I want to see this so much better. I got to pause my stream. There we go. Because it's showing me stuff that happened 45 minutes ago or whatever, and it's distracting to me. It looks fantastic. My favorite game of all time. Yeah, Ocarina of Time is up there for me. And Zach Rain is saying it was an HD remaster, and I feel like that's what we were seeing for Skyward Sword, was a remaster, not a remake. This is a remake. No idea if it looks good or not. We haven't seen gameplay. I'm going to assume that the gameplay is relatively similar to what the gameplay was before. I don't see them doing like Breath of the Wild style stuff. I think it's going to be a lot like Ocarina of Time, just with better graphics and maybe more fleshed out world. And I would assume that what we saw is what the game is going to look like. Like, they're not going to have... It's not like in Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1, where the cutscenes, Cloud and Barrett and Tifa, looked better than they did when you were playing. You know what I mean? What we saw is what Link is going to look like. Now, maybe it'll be a little lower resolution or something to make it, perform better. But I don't think the gameplay is going to visually look that much different than what we see from the trailer. Frosty Revolution says Majora's Mask was better. Cowards. I hope that they also do a Majora's Mask remake. Remake, yeah. Shinobi says, I've never gotten into a Zelda game, so the leak didn't bum me out. It still sucks that when things are leaked. People worked hard on the announcements. Yeah. Kinsey JR says, Ocarina of Time was great, but Link to the Past is still my favorite. Link to the Past is the most replayable retro game I think that ever exists. I think that Link to the Past is so damn good. Every single time I get a new retro handheld in, that's one of the first games that I load up. I load up A Link to the Past. I load up Shining Force, Streets of Rage 2. What other games do I always load up? These days, Donkey Kong for the Game Boy. Like, those are my go-to games for retro handhelds because they just hold up so well. If they make Ocarina of Time look similar to Twilight Princess, I'm gonna faint. Twilight Princess looks good, but we already know what Zelda's gonna look like. Telman0000 says, Bill, how impactful do you think the Steam Machine's release will be on the console market? Will it create waves or be a niche device for those who know? That's a great question. Here is my answer to that question, and it's going to piss off a lot of people that like my show. I think that it's going to have no real impact on the console market. I think that there will be people. Let me tell you who the Steam Machine is for. The Steam Machine is for people who have a large Steam library and want to play those games on a TV. That's it. If you're not somebody who already has a large Steam library, why would you buy the Steam Machine? It's not going to be cheaper than building your own machine. it's not going to get you access to the console games that you want to play, especially now that PlayStation has abandoned PC. You'll still be able to play Xbox games, but I really don't see it making a huge dent in like PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo. They're going to be able to look at the Steam machine the way it is, and they're going to say, nah, I can probably ignore that. And that's okay, because it's not a new console. It's just a PC. And when I say it's just a PC, that is not a dig at the Steam machine. When I say it's just a PC, what I'm saying is it can do everything a PC can do. It can play PC games. So no matter how many they sell, if you bought one because you like one, it doesn't matter. Whereas if a new console comes out, let's say the PlayStation 6, if you buy the PlayStation 6 and nobody else buys the PlayStation 6, you're screwed. You're screwed because eventually no games are going to come to the PlayStation 6 because nobody bought it. You know what I mean? On a Steam machine, you buy a Steam machine because you want a Steam machine, but nobody else buys a Steam machine. Well, all those games are still going to come to Steam, and that means you're still going to be able to play them on the Steam machine. So it doesn't have a big impact that way. Chaos Rage, what would you classify as a large gaming library? I don't know. I feel like I have a large gaming library at over 1,000 games in my Steam library, but I know that that's tiny little numbers compared to a lot of other people. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll about Ocarina of Time, and let's see what it says. All right, so we had about 148 people vote out of the 700 people that were here, and it says 80% says it looks good. Only 20% says it looks bad. All right. It says, okay, Learn to Swim says, who has a large Steam library without a system they can play those games on already? It's narrower than that. It's literally people with a Steam library that want a second system for a different room. Yeah, like I said, to play games on your TV. Most people don't hook a computer up to the TV. Most people don't do that. Like I do that. Most people don't do that. Most people have their computer hooked up to a monitor with a keyboard and a mouse, and that's where they play their games. This is for people who want to play it on the TV. And yes, you can use it on a desktop with a monitor and a keyboard and mouse. You can use it that way. I ain't using it that way. That's not really what it's designed for. Jim says, what's your desktop setup? What operating system do you use? Well, it depends on what you're talking about. For video games, my operating system is Bazite, which is Linux. For everything else, my operating system is Mac OS. I'm a Mac guy. And so I'm streaming to you guys right now. I've got my laptop sitting over here. I've got it hooked up to a bunch of stuff, and that's how I'm streaming to you guys right now. Joseph King says, question, contemplating building my own Steam machine. I have RAM and storage and can harvest from other devices, 32 of DDR4 and 4 terabyte SSD. Should I get the Steam machine or build a Max Mat X HTCP PC? I mean, that really depends on your budget. And look, if you can harvest stuff from other machines, then build your machine and use it for as long as you can and wait for prices to come down. And then you can upgrade. That's what I would do. And yeah, so Eric says, I, for instance, got rid of my PC and my Steam backlog is crazy. So a machine for me is a no-brainer. I hope the price is right, though. Yeah, I don't think the price is going to be right. I wanted the price to be right, but it's not going to be. Just to be back a few seconds on Ocarina of Time, what if it's a GKC? What is a GKC? Can somebody in chat remind me what a GKC is? Because I don't know. I was just looking through. Just so you guys know, the stream's going to go for about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to wrap things up. Oh, game key card. Thank you. Okay. I don't think has Nintendo done game key cards with their first party games. I'm not sure. I don't think that they have. I know the third party games have, but I don't know if there's any first party Nintendo titles that have done game key cards. Either way, I hope not. But either way, it doesn't affect me because I'm going to buy it digitally anyway. Everybody always like hates it when I say this, but the way I look at physical versus digital, I want the convenience of digital. My entire Steam library is digital. My Nintendo library is digital. My PlayStation library is digital. My Xbox library is digital. I don't want the plastic shit in my house. I want people to be able to have access to that plastic shit if they want. So I don't want like physical media to go away, but I don't want physical media for me. Pokopia is not first party. It's like second party because the Pokemon company is not like, it's kind of co-owned by Nintendo and Game Freak. No, Game Freak. I'm assuming Game Freak made Pokopia, and Game Freak is co-owned by Nintendo and the Pokemon company, but it's not the same company. You know what I mean? Thanks so much, Telman. But I mean, they might not have a choice as far as whether or not it's a game key card, because the manufacturers of the chips that go in the game in the cartridges, like they are limited as to like how big they can be, and so they might have to, like, if the game has too large of a file size, they may have to go with a game key card, which would suck. Magma Slime says, I hope to God this RAM thing will end at some point because my goodness, Valve is in some hot water thanks to the utter greed going on. Well, I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. And let me tell you why. Here's why I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. And then I'm going to wrap up the show. So, the whole reason that this is happening is because the RAM manufacturers... Uh-oh. I just lost that window. Reload that window. Am I still online? And it looks like I'm still online. Okay, I'm still online. The whole reason that this is happening is because all of the RAM is being bought up by the AI data centers. Now, one solution to that would be for the companies that are making the chips that go into RAM and storage and stuff like that. They could just make more, but they don't. Here's why they don't want to make more. If they make more, well, like right now, they're selling everything that they can make. If they start making more, what's that going to do to the price? It's going to drive that price down. Okay. And right now, they're selling everything they can make. If they start making more and the AI bubble bursts, which is a real possibility, it is a real possibility that the AI bubble is going to burst, right? And if they make all that extra inventory, and then that AI bubble bursts, now they have all of this inventory that sure they can sell, but the price is going to drop like a rock. And if that happens, then they're going to be sitting on inventory that they can't really get rid of in the way that they want. So it's safer, it's a better business move for them to just not make more and just keep doing what they're doing and hope that eventually the AI data centers say, all right, well, we bought enough and we don't have to buy anymore. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But Asha Sharma and Matt Booty have basically said that they think it's going to go on for another 2 to 2.5 years, which is why I made a video saying that I think that we are now sitting in the the longest generation ever, when it comes to video game generations. I feel like the PS5 and the Xbox Series and the Nintendo Switch 2, that generation of consoles, I think we're going to be sitting in that generation for a very long time, even though Xbox and PlayStation had planned on putting out their successive consoles next year. I don't know that it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Frostbite is saying they want to make the most money and they cannot make less profit. And you know what? They are publicly controlled companies. So if they do something that would make them less profit, then their board would get voted out by the shareholders and they would all lose their jobs. So they kind of have their hands tied. Hey Bill, is that original or re-release Coleco DK behind you? That's a original. Good eyes. It's pretty dark over here. Where is it? It's pretty dark over here. The fact that you were able to pick that out as a Coleco Donkey Kong arcade is pretty impressive. And Learn to Swim says this generation should last longer. It's barely gotten rolling, and I agree with that. I don't need new hardware. Listen. The last episode of the podcast, which came out on Sunday, was probably the least watched episode of the podcast in a very long time. And we talked about this it was me and Rich and Jimmy, and we talked about it extensively. So if you guys have not watched that, make sure that you do. Jay Carly, where is it? I had a Pac-Man one when I was a kid, and I would play that thing so much. Do you remember the outlet? When you plugged the outlet in, it had 4 different barrel jacks on it, so you could plug in the right size to your Coleco machine instead of just using the batteries. All right, guys. I've been talking nonstop for an hour and 20 minutes at this point, so I am going to wrap up the show. I want to say thank you guys for showing up. At some point, we had almost 900 people watching with no warning at all, and you guys showed up to hang out. I really appreciate it. This might go. I might take this live stream and cut it up and put parts of it on to the Clips channel. If you have yet to subscribe to the Clips channel, please do me a favor and subscribe to the Clips channel. It's youtube.com/NerdNestClips. Link down below so that you can check that out. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for the last hour. I really do appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next one. Stay rad, everybody. Bye-bye.